My name is Matthew Evangelista. I teach international politics at Cornell University, but I have a background in Russian and Soviet studies. So I was quite interested in this conference, really two conferences that combine a study of the legacy of the Russian Revolution for the situation in the post-Soviet space. So in my comments, I focused on the differences between a social revolution of the sort that took place in Russia, earlier in France, later in China, what the main characteristics are, and how that phenomenon differs from what has been called the color revolutions in the post-Soviet area. And I focused in particular on the role of violence, because the violence of the revolutions like the October Revolution, combined with a mass mobilization, had consequences for the subsequent regime. So I drew on the work of Theda Skocpol in particular, who argued that the regimes that emerged from a violent social revolution tended to become authoritarian and bureaucratized and continue the violent means in the course of their governance. I introduced literature drawing on the work of Gene Sharp on the role of nonviolent struggle for social change. Because what's interesting is Gene Sharp's work also highlights the role of political mobilization, mass mobilization, in making essentially a nonviolent resistance movement effective in overthrowing an authoritarian regime. And his work has been studied and systematized by Erica Chenoweth and Maria Stefan, and they argued that, in fact, it is the mass participation that allows those regimes to be overthrown using nonviolent methods, or wide range of diverse methods, and that the consequence for a nonviolent revolution is essentially a more democratic outcome. But then I turned to what seems to be less encouraging news, which is that authoritarian regimes have learned how to adapt to the nonviolent methods. They've learned to provoke violence that then gives them the advantage in putting down popular nonviolent resistance. So I ended on a somewhat negative, pessimistic note that we probably will not be able to see wide-scale nonviolent change in the post-Soviet space or anywhere really, as long as authoritarian regimes are learning the techniques for responding to those kind of movements.